Welcome to the Laverne Church of the Brethren's weekly audio message. Here at the Laverne Church of the Brethren, we create a Christian community called by Christ to be inclusive, caring, and peace-minded. We affirm that people of any race, ethnic identity, gender identity, sexual orientation, ability, age, economic status, faith tradition, or life situation are welcome in our congregation. We believe in compassionate service, stewardship of creation, respect for diversity, and nonviolent reconciliation for differences among all people, nations, and faith traditions. We claim no creed but the New Testament as exemplified by the life of Christ. We strive to follow the way of Jesus. And through these efforts, we seek to grow ever closer to the mind and heart of God. And now let us ground ourselves as we enter into today's message. This morning's service will continue our series entitled Named or Unnamed, Exploring Overlooked Biblical Figures, while we also reflect on experiences of Peace Camp. I'm looking forward to all of those who will be participating in worship today.
As a historical peace church, our Peace Camp program truly embodies the core values of our congregation. Personally, as an expectant mom, I was reminded of the importance of teaching those values and passing them on to the children of this congregation and our community. In a world often marked by conflict and division, our children are not just passive witnesses, they are active participants. They see the struggles around them and feel the weight of global challenges. This is why our Peace Camp is so important. We strive to teach our children to be peacemakers today, not just tomorrow. One of my favorite aspects of Peace Camp is seeing the children embody what it means to be a peacemaker through our activities. Watching the children engage in their peace projects and interact with each other and our volunteers was incredibly rewarding. For instance, when the children ring the gong during the service project, I could see the look of pride on their faces as they not only marked the completion of a task, but also understood that their efforts were making a real difference in the world today. I was inspired by our older campers running around and playing with our young campers, making sure that the younger kids were always involved, kids working together in trash to treasure to make fairy houses and trucks and rocket ships, even sharing the pizzas that they made with one another. They were truly being peacemakers that we need so desperately in our world today. Peace Camp is not just about teaching concepts. It's about creating a lived experience for our children. It's about seeing our children apply the values of peace, inclusivity, and nonviolence in their everyday interactions. As I look back on this week, I am inspired by the ways in which our children are embodying the core values of this congregation. They remind us that peace is not a distant ideal, but a present reality that we can all contribute to. Thank you for your support and dedication to our Peace Camp. Together, we are nurturing a new generation of peacemakers who will carry forward our mission and values into the world.
Hi, my name is Annett Ruiz, and I'll be reading Matthew chapter 14, verse 13 through 21. Now when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a deserted place by himself. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion for them and cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a deserted place, and the hour is now late. Send the crowds away so that they may go into the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." They replied, "We have nothing here but 5 loaves and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them to me." Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to the heaven and blessed and broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. And all ate and were filled, and they took up what was left over of the broken pieces, 12 baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children.
On my first day of 8th grade, I sat in science class, awaiting my name to be called as the teacher took attendance. From a young age, I've been somewhat reserved in social situations, not one to be the center of attention. So roll call has always been a bit problematic for me. Having the last name of Bennett meant my name was typically called early on during roll call. When Mrs. S. called my name on that first day of school, I struggled to catch my breath. I struggled to find my voice. It seemed to have escaped me at that exact moment. I tried, however, to muster out a faint, "Here." "Amanda Bennett," she called out again. I tried to take a breath and I whimpered out again, "Here." Mrs. S. waited a moment. She looked around the room, shrugged her shoulders, and murmured, "Absent," as she marked her attendance sheet. I slunk down into my seat. My heart was racing and my voice was unheard. After class, I approached my science teacher to let her know I was indeed present in class. I was shy, but not shy enough to allow an absence to tarnish a perfect attendance record, especially not on the first day of school. So although it was a bit late, I claimed my presence in that 8th grade science class. In our text today, we too are going to look at attendance. This miracle found across the Gospels, the miracle of Jesus feeding the 5,000, has its own roll call, if you will. The biblical authors, our teachers per se, they don't take accurate attendance. Mark and Luke do not specifically mention women and children in the crowd. The author of John, however, includes the presence of a boy whose resources prompt the miracle, as it is his original 5 loaves and 2 fish that are multiplied. Yet the miracle in John still contains incomplete attendance, as women and children in general are unnamed. Some might say the author of Matthew does an arguably better job. He mentions the presence of women and children, though it's in hindsight. As you heard today, the text reads, "And those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children." So while women and children are named in this text, the author of Matthew excludes them from the count of those who were fed. I wonder then, how might the story take shape if the gospel authors had taken accurate attendance? How might the presence of women and children shape this miracle that took place on such a sacred day? We close our eyes and acknowledge the presence of women and children in this miracle. I'd venture to say the story changes substantially. Matthew counts 5,000 men, but if we include women and children, how many might have actually been in attendance? 10,000? 15,000? More? Matthew tells us that Jesus was healing the sick before the miracle of the fish and loaves. Maybe mothers carry children for miles to receive health care from Jesus. Perhaps curious tweens tag along too. Maybe older adults, along with the help of their loved ones, shuffle along to encounter Jesus' divine presence. People of all shapes and sizes and kin structures in attendance to learn and follow this subversive leader who shows another way of life, who offers care and equity for all. I just can't imagine that this crowd is still or quiet. This hodgepodge group is probably full of wiggling children, crying babies, kids using their outside voices and playing with one another in an effort to keep boredom at play. Perhaps it looked a little bit like Peace Camp. And like Peace Campers this week, this multi-generational, diverse group participate in a miracle. The disciples pass out the fish and bread, but surely women, children, teenagers, older adults, and everyone in between move about and divide the loaves and bread, their own resources, among one another. I wonder if children carried bread to one another, noticing the grumbles of empty tummies. Maybe teens sat next to older adults, sharing a fish meal together. Perhaps this great crowd was full of all genders, ages, abilities, communing with one another, a loud, wiggly, holy act of community care with Jesus at the center of it all. Friends, the gospel authors might have omitted women and children, marking them absent during this divine miracle, but that doesn't mean we have to follow suit. Instead, let us remember children were indeed present. They were active participants in a sacred miracle of generosity and peace. Let their presence in this miracle act as a reminder that children in particular are full participants in miracles of the here and now. It's my hope that this morning, as we've heard from peace campers and volunteers, that we have recorded accurate attendance, that we've marked children present among us. May we continue to recognize and acknowledge the presence of children, present as full participants in our church community, present and essential to the thriving of our local communities, present in the daily miracles of generosity, compassion, and peacemaking, both today and in days to come. And children, if there's any still in here and not on the play yard, I want you to do this. May you claim your place among us. Use your voice with courage as we all work together toward peace. Amen. We're so glad that you listened to the message today. If you're looking for an open and affirming, peace-loving, and justice-seeking congregation, consider visiting us for in-person worship on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. We'd love to meet you.